Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Welcome back. This is part 2 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Season 2, recap, analyzing, hot takes, whatever you want to call it. If you are here for the first time and you are up to speed on all things MomTok, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 1, hey, feel free to stick around. If you are wanting to hear everything from the beginning / a soft recap of Season 1, go check out the previous episode of mine. It will fill you in on all the swinger information and backstories for all the hot gossip. But this is part 2, so let's get into it. Recap. So in the first episode, we start off things pretty fun because we are now introduced to Miranda, one of the original actual MomTok members. And I will say it very lightly, she is a sweetheart. I didn't know what to expect because we're actually seeing a real kind of view of her interactions, not something edited and posted to her desires. It's something that's been edited and posted by obviously the crew of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and very impressed with the way that she carries herself. I was not expecting it, to be honest. She's very mature, I will say. I would say she's the most mature of the bunch, maybe tied with Macy. Very impressed. She's actually high up on my list. And I'll do my list recap at the end. But they talk to Miranda, and talk about the swinging scandal, what happened, and that becomes a talking point of, what actually happened? Was it just kissing? Yada, yada, yada. Do we still have a straight answer? Don't think so. I don't think we'll ever have a straight answer, but that's fine. I can get over that. But in general, the first episode, Taylor is going through the realization that Dakota is a cheater pretty much and kind of an awful guy in general, and talks to her mom about that, who now has a new face that ironically Taylor, this is known on the internet, Taylor paid for her to get like a facelift and plastic surgery. And it's funny because obviously she showed a picture of Taylor because she looks a lot closer to her daughter than she did before. And so I think kind of just like Dakota, or her mom, I think is it Leanne, his name, that she is chasing the fame and stardom too. But overall, yes, Taylor talks to Jenna, the girl that was involved with Dakota around the same time that Taylor was dating Dakota, and that there was a lot of deleted texts, a lot of sus information that was not provided, and a lot of secrets that are coming out now. So that was the Taylor and Jenna interaction, which there's a lot of people giving Jenna crap because she was very smiley, but I quite honestly think she was just really nervous, and some people cope with humor, and I think she was just smiling to get through it. That, and then she also kind of looks like a fan of Taylor, and so I think she was just really, hyped to be even a part of it and to meet Taylor, I guess. Anyway, she looked very cute, though. I'll give her that. So they figured that out, and then Taylor's basically depressed, which I do feel bad for her, but she did put herself in this mess, and it keeps getting messier. Instead of going to therapy and actually keeping things clean, it just seems to all get a little bit more messy. So then Miranda invites the girls to her house to have a charcuterie board, like munch and mingle, and everyone is very much walking on eggshells, and Jen and Whitney talk, and then Miranda seems to be trying to be closer to Whitney, and yeah, overall, then we get our first taste of Michaela, the actual Michaela that talks, speaks, and has a very loud and opinionated opinion. And that was a little shocking. I think it's just because she did not talk a lot last season, and she wanted more screen time because she now is very in your face about her opinions, where I didn't even think she talked all that much. So it's a very interesting switch up. But overall, I guess we'll add some nice change of scenery for this season. Alright, so then episode 2 comes by, and we first see Taylor talking to Miranda and everyone else about kind of what happened and the intentions of coming back into MomTok and wanting to be a part of it. And Miranda, I think, is being very mature and saying that she wants to grow up and move forward and get past it. I think she is taking the accountability she needs to. Not that she owes anyone anything, but like based on the scenario, based on what we need to give and deliver for the show regarding gossip and content. Then we see the dads of Dad Talk, which they tried to make Dad Talk their own thing, which has been very, very mildly, not remotely entertaining on TikTok, of them all of a sudden feeling very insecure at the fact that their wives are doing so much grander than they are in the celebrity world. And then there's been so many TikTok suds just saying, like, are these Utah Mormons serious? Can they not tell their husbands are gay? Which, that as a talking point, I will say that yes, all the guys in Utah are very well put together dressed, not a lot of, I don't know, like lazy looking outfits or anything. So a lot of them, they do come across that they look like they're gay. So that's understandable. The way they kind of talk is a very sales bro thing in Utah, and we have a lot of tech companies. So if you're familiar with any tech sales bros, just multiply that by 100 and you have Utah. As for Demi and Jesse, we start to see a significant friendship between the two of them. They seem to be besties, and they're spending a lot of time, they're talking, and then Demi and Jesse are meeting up with Zach, Jen's husband, to talk things through and where there was issues with the relationship, and I think it was a genuine good chat. Zach seems to have taken all of the hatred and reactions to his character and the choices that he made / I would imagine a very bad edit from season 1, and took them with pride and growth, so hats off to him. I think it's very impressive and did well. Next, we see the absolute fire of a family lunch, and I have never felt so uncomfortable through a TV show, because this is when Taylor's stepdad, basically calls her a hoe. Literally. And the worst and sad part about this is that this is Taylor's stepdad, her initial dad. Like, she already has daddy issues, and she talks about this, that the one time that she met her dad, he basically just said, what up, kid? And had no regard or care for her. And so she's talked about how she seeks validation from men for that very reason. And so anyway, they're having a family picnic in the backyard, pretty much, and going over the complicatedness of how Taylor can't trust Dakota, and there was lying and scheming, and now there's a baby, and now they're making it super messy, and basically being separated, but then still having sex and co-parenting. And basically the dad comes out and he's like, well, why did you let this happen? And Taylor's like, well, I mean, we slept together. And so he asked, like, how soon did this start? Well, it was pretty much right after we started hanging out. Like, and he's like, well, what do you think's gonna happen? And I thought that was hilarious. Which, yes, that is something that Utah desperately needs and doesn't have, which is sex education in schools. Fun fact. you did not know that. Out of Utah, very normal for sex education to be part of school curriculum, where you learn to put a condom on a banana and the STDs and abstinence and the concept and purpose for it. No, you get none of that in Utah. If you want to learn about sex, you get to talk to your parents or your friends. And that, you'd think there would be a lot more teen pregnancies. However, you have a lot of these kids scared straight through their religion, through their parents. Like I said, a lot of us are very involved in athletic and booked and busy in dance classes and soccer and piano and youth activities. So 9 out of 10 times there's not enough time in the day. Like, you'll still hang out with friends and significant others and stuff. And yeah, I'm sure things probably get busy for the kids that want to be a little more bad than others and are romantically involved with their significant others. But overall, yeah, sex is very taboo. And it makes me laugh that these are grown adults and they didn't think to either put on a condom or take appropriate measures because, yeah, it's truly laughable. But anyway, so Taylor's dad clocks her and it's truly embarrassing. Taylor's basically having a absolute meltdown at the table. Her sister's trying to defend her, and yeah, it was truly painful to watch. I don't know what award show it would win an award for being the most uncomfortable, and yeah, it was pretty bad. I'm sure it will go down in history as quite the cinematic moment for television, and it's pretty sad. Okay, so then we see Jen and husband Jack talking through the fact that she is now pregnant. Once again, lovely, wonderful oopsies, which I don't think it was an oopsies. I think it was very much planned, and they just played it into the narrative that it was an oopsies, that through their struggle to balance their marriage, despite that they are still continuously having sex, well, I guess I would imagine on the good days, or when people are feeling a little spicier than usual, even though that their marriage is a mess. Anyway, so that is made known, and so that's oh so dramatic. Alright, next scene is Jesse decides to get messy with things and is going to have a Halloween party, and then Jesse and me think it's a hilarious idea to set up a Chippendales skit that include their husbands that are going to be dancing in tuxedo, Playboy bunny kind of looking attire, and then it's going that they want to have Jen sitting in a chair and get air grinded on, and they think that's, I guess, a good idea. No, I think it was definitely a plot point for the show, but they weren't going to tell Jen. Well, I mean, that's the whole part of the show, which I think is BS, that they strategically didn't tell her that she was going to be the one being grinded on, because they run off and say, oh, we told you up front that you were okay with this and you signed off on it. No, she did not sign off to being in the chair and grinded on. She just thought there was going to be a cute little performance put on by their husbands. So I'm Team Jen on that one. But yeah, super messy in the fact that their marriage, basically, Jen and Zach's marriage was crumbling on the basis of Chippendales, and then they bring it back and keep the Chippendales horror story keep going. But anyway, then the Halloween party starts, and people start talking about their costumes, and Jessie says that she's going as Jen Affleck with her husband, and it's Ben Affleck, and that the timing, of course, and the scripting of the show is oh so funny, because Jen talks about her costume, and she thinks it would be so funny to go as Jen and Ben Affleck, and so now we got two people who wore it better. And I think Jesse wore it better, to be honest. But I mean, that's half the shock point. And yeah, so that was funny. And then you see some other costumes. And then the height of the party. So Chase is invited because Jesse has a friend of a friend, and so things get super messy. So Chase, being Miranda's ex-husband of the original swinger group, the very group that Chase, now we hear all the backstory, but basically Chase went up to Taylor during the height of the swinging era and basically confessed that he had feelings for her, loved her, and that obviously complicated things, and the fact that Taylor was best friends with his wife. And super messy overall. And so then it becomes a full-on scream-out fest between Taylor, her baby daddy, Dakota, and then Miranda's husband, Chase. And so then you think that Dakota would back Taylor. No. No. What? It is just horrendous. Like, you would think that Dakota would want to be back in the good graces of Taylor because he loves her so much. But then no, because Taylor is pissed at Chase for just existing, pretty much, which for the right reasons, because Chase is just kind of horrible. And so then Dakota finds out the original source material that Taylor had approached Chase at a different point and informed him that she had a special dream, aka a sex dream, about Chase. And so then Dakota's jaw's on the floor, and he's saying, "Are you kidding me? You've never told me that before." And he's running with that. And don't get me wrong, truly horrendous stuff, but that's in general their relationship to a T. Like, I would say this is probably on the low totem pole regarding of shock factors regarding their relationship. But anyway, Dakota likes a reality TV moment. You can tell because he starts basically yelling at Taylor just as much, and it's super messy in the middle of this party. And the crown jewels go to Miranda, who goes over to Chase and starts wagging her little lobster claws. Oh my gosh, props to her. She's iconic. She is the moment. She is everything. She is beauty. She is grace. She is Miss United States. Somebody give her a round of applause. That was cinema. That was peak cinema. Miranda, you are an icon. Never get rid of those claws. They need to be in a museum somewhere. That was the funniest thing of the whole season. I was dying. Anyway, props up to her. She didn't even take them off. She just was just waving them around and bossing Chase. And I have so much respect for her in general because Chase was there with his new girlfriend, and that's hard. Like, no matter how cordial, like, that's so hard. And she was being so sweet with her, giving her hugs while the girlfriend's basically slowly deteriorating and questioning why she was ever involved with this guy because he's clearly psychotic as well. Everyone's psychotic at the party. The party is called the Psycho Party. And overall, Miranda, though, brownie points again. 10 out of 10 impressed. And then Taylor, she just turns on her wackadoo energy and she's going off too. Like, you can just see in the glint in her eye that this is her time to shine, and any emotional, like, turmoil or depression flies out the window because she is ready to bat with her kitty claws, which is ironic because she's a cat. She's Regina George dressed as a cat for Halloween. So the next big blow up and heat of the party, I guess, even though there was a lot of cat claws out at this point, was that Chase goes up to Demi and says, "Hey, where's Brett?" and touches either her arm slightly or like her side and literally is just inquiring where her husband is. And she apparently decides that that is perfect reality TV moment, apparently, and immediately runs off upstairs where Brett, which is hilarious because they're rehearsing for their Chippendales segment, So Brett and Jordan are wearing no shirts and the little bow ties are on their neck, but Demi runs upstairs and says to Brett, her husband, quote unquote, "You need to get downstairs and because Chase just put hands on me," which is hilarious to hear the term "put hands on me." That's so specific in an attempt to stir up drama, because I feel like anyone would just say, "Okay, well, he just freaking touched me," or quote, "he touched me there." So the fact that you use the term "put hands on me" is very interesting, because I've never heard anyone use that phrase. And yeah, anyway, obviously you gotta make reality television happen, so Brett flies down the stairs, and apparently that's what keeps him young, because it makes me laugh thinking about how much older he is, and that's not necessarily an age joke, but like that must be what is keeping him young, is being ready to fight these high school battles. And that truly is what, if I were to sum up the entire concept of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, it's literally high school. It's not even college. It is high school drama that these adults are just acting through. Like, there's no logic, there's no good communication. It's so catty. And in fact, I saw a TikTok of a older woman who, she must enjoy watching like most reality TV, like the Real Housewives of blank 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 of whatever season. Like, I believe she watches a lot of these types of shows, and she did her review of the first couple episodes or something of the first season of Mormon Wives, and she just said, "I had to turn it off because it's so catty. There's nothing interesting or types of innovation for these women businesses. Like, you lose brain cells watching this kind of thing." But yeah, it's part of the trash TV concept, I guess. So my analyzing of it and my concern is that you have all ages watching it. And since then as well, other TikToks I've seen is just girls saying, "Oh my gosh, I have to get extensions now," me booking my extensions appointment. And that's just horrifying to me. I mean, I had an older sister, and I remember with her generation and age group, a lot of them did wear clip-ins and whatnot. And I am pretty positive there was a couple girls in my grade that would wear sewn-in whatever extensions, which I could never. Yeah, I think they're pretty, don't get me wrong. I am just a ponytail girl for life, so one, that would be a complete obvious giveaway that I know there's special ways you can get extensions sewn in so that you can wear ponytails and everything, but it just wouldn't work, and I don't have time for that. And I'd rather wash my entire head of hair and not just like the top half, which, I don't know, maybe you can wash your whole head, or I don't know. That's too intricate. But long story short is, this show is generally just surface level, and it's concerning because younger age groups will absorb it, and long term could stand to cause quite a bit of mental health issues. But anyway, back to the plot line. So now Brett runs downstairs and finds Chase out on the lawn and starts yelling at him. Is like, "Touch my wife, blah, 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 blah." And so then the next part that was hilarious, because yes, you have Brett just screaming at Chase, of course. But then you have Jordan, who wants to insert himself into this drama. He must have been analyzing the situation and been like, "You know what? I haven't had enough screen time. I've been upstairs rehearsing and shaking my booty in preparations for this next Chippendales segment, which I don't know if we'll make it to that because of all this crazy drama of Brett screaming at Chase. So I have to get involved," because he yells at Chase, whose back is actually turned away from Jordan. So Jordan's just coming out of the woodworks, and he screams, "Take ownership," and he screams it. And the part that just kills me is watching the background audience. Like, you see Aspen Ovard in the background. She's drinking wine or something out of a glass, and you can just tell she's this little smirk. She's like, did that really just happen? And I'm right there with her, because what is going on right now? And then you have Hakeem from the Bachelor franchise, who his facial expressions, he must solely get paid by his facial expressions. Nothing needs to be said. He doesn't get paid by the word. He gets paid by the facial spasm. And I love that for him. He made that party, and that was the funniest thing. So, of course, after Chase leaves, gets kicked out, whatever, I think the most heartwarming moment was that Taylor, Miranda, and Chase's girlfriend are, like, huddled up. And I think that's so cute, and the fact that they've all had relations or have a relationship with Chase, even though he's a complete douchebag. I feel so strongly with... I wouldn't say I'm a girl's girl, because I wouldn't be. That's just not in my nature, but I think that is very admirable of being like an ultimate girl power, girl's girl situation, and I love that. And when I say I'm not a girl's girl, it just means I'd be very uncomfortable, and I probably would be distancing myself, just not because I didn't want to talk to them, but like socially and stress-wise, I'd just be like, okay, I want to either leave or just kind of go in my own corner and relax a bit. And maybe talk about it logically a little bit later when tensions weren't so high. So then, of course, the Chippendales dance group formed by Brett and Jordan, and then the actual Chippendales employee dancer guy come out swinging, and they put Jen in the chair, and Jordan is side-eyeing so intensely, and everyone is stressed, it's awkward, all the above, but they still go for it. And yeah, I thought it was a bad move, but it was a opportunity for drama, and they went with it. And of course, later we'll see more about that. But my own opinion on it, I think it was pretty tacky. I guess they were really fishing for content, because move on. Like, Chippendales, they might as well set up a franchise here in Utah, because that's basically that we're pushing for a borderline obsession, I guess, over this Chippendales thing. So that's kind of weird, but anyway, then they deep dive into Michaela's backstory, her sisters, and I guess it was interesting to hear, but I think the way that it was filmed, I think they should have filmed it kind of in a different way, because we were just seeing a lot of Michaela's sisters, and it was just kind of a weird situation, and she was dressed up for Halloween, and I don't know, I feel like they should have filmed that a little bit better. It was kind of weird. But overall, like I said, we're seeing a lot more from her. She's being a lot more forward, and which is fine. Like, she's good to have an opinion, but I think it's being pushed a little bit for the narrative. And I don't know, I just envision she is a lot more cool and chill than the persona that she's putting out for reality TV, and I would prefer to see it. And I feel like we're seeing just some very pushed narrative, but by her, which is fine, but maybe we'll see that in time. So then we get a talk with Jen and Zach. They're trying to figure out all their stuff, and it's really unfortunate just because you just see Jen spiraling over and over again, and them being on reality TV is the worst thing for their relationship. Anyone could see that. And I think it's truly sad that it's real people, real lives. And yeah, of course, anyone would take the opportunity to have a reality TV check, you know, I get that, but I think that Jen just folds herself in half and backwards and does backflips to try to be the perfect mold and such in everyone's different viewpoints, and like, that's exhausting. She needs to just focus on what's best for her, and not in the way of like, oh, I need to take time for me, and just repeating that over and over again, but really just taking a minute, cameras off, and really communicating, because she's just putting up all these walls in an attempt to breaking them down, I guess. It's kind of backwards, but that's what it just feels like to me. I feel like that Zach, I mean, for some reason I still get the vibes that Zach is also kind of doing a Whitney with how he's acting towards the camera, which I genuinely do feel that he is significantly better. And I think it's awful that they are putting the whole Chippendales Part 2 situation in front of him, because, like, that's horrible. It's like you're trying to move past that, and yeah. Anyway, pretty wrong. I hope that they have a happily ever after. I obviously don't wish divorce or anything on anyone, especially with the new baby. But we shall see, indeed. So then Whitney has her baby boy, and super fun, super cute. Like I said, I'm very impressed with her ability to leave the house as quickly as she does postpartum. Go through all this drama is crazy, but she does it, and that's impressive. Obviously, I'm sure that having had a child before helps a little bit with knowing what to expect. So that's, I guess, a pro with that. Then the next thing that we see is the harvest carnival looking pumpkin thing, and we get a lot of girl chat about how everyone's feeling about everything, with Miranda about what happened with the actual swinging, and Taylor definitely kind of calling her out and saying, well, you only said you kissed a couple people, and reality is much more than that. And I think Miranda did an excellent job with just pushing forward the fact that she wants to move on, and she's cool to confirm that, yeah, there probably was a little bit more than what she was insinuating, but it is being a dead horse, and Taylor is just saying it over and over again. And I did appreciate that they both established that, because were coming to terms. Taylor was feeling frustrated because she was feeling that Miranda was downplaying it, and Miranda was probably just confused because she's like, why won't you leave this alone? Stop beating the dead horse. But in reality, it was just because Taylor thought that she didn't want to take ownership, and they're just trying to travel in two different directions. And I see that, and I think it's good they had the conversation. It was a little painful to watch, I guess, because you understood Miranda's perspective, and it looked like Taylor was just trying to pull her the opposite direction to keep talking about it, which makes sense because that is what Taylor is good at when it comes to the whole reality TV part of it all. Of, oh, let's talk about it more, let's juice it more. Like, I get that. But it's, as mature as Miranda is coming off as these days, I think that's what makes it kind of a hard watch. But as always, we love Miranda, so we're Team Miranda over here, which is so funny because before she joined this season, I, like most people, kind of viewed her as like all right, you got caught, but you got caught lying that you weren't a part of it, but you were a part of it. So I truly didn't know what to expect. But yeah, she's kind of the people's princess now, which is funny because, I mean, Taylor still has a lot of great fans and viewers and whatnot, but I honestly didn't think that Miranda would get so much hype, like good hype, for this season as she has. So super happy for her because of all the crap that she did go through not being on season 1, and then the crap for joining. Like, and the funniest TikToks have come out from her just saying like, yeah, you would do it too for a check. Like, I want to make that clear, kind of thing. And I love that for her. So the next episode is the Book of Taboos, and we first see Layla talking to her boyfriend about their relationship and how she's a little more different probably than what his family expects when it comes to how Mormon that she is, lack of that she is. And that relationship in itself, I feel bad for the guy because, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's like a Dakota and absolutely desires to be part of reality TV, but it doesn't look like it. And she has to be mildly interesting, and she knows that. And so here we are on their date with them, and he just is kind of just not side eye, but like looking away from the camera and her and stuff all the time, which obviously he's not supposed to look in the camera, but you know, he's just kind of like, okay, I'm here, haha. So I kind of feel bad for him on that one, but we'll see. If I recall, I don't remember if I saw a post or not that they're not doing so hot, which I wouldn't be surprised because, I don't know. But long term, I feel like Layla is gonna make it and one day move to California and start dating like NBA players or something like that, or NFL, and she'll be a wag. Is it wag? Yeah, wag. And women and wives, or women and wives and girlfriends. There we go. And so I think I could see that life for her, but maybe not. Maybe she's very anti-sports. So we'll see. But moving forward, then we see Taylor, Macy, and Michaela going to a brunch, and they talk about Taylor's relationship with Dakota and that it's not healthy and that Taylor is basically spiraling. Which, my honest opinion about kind of where Taylor and Dakota is at this point, I am even more lost because Taylor gets so upset in moments like this where she wants to do the right thing for her child. And the thing that throws me for a loop is that she's literally made TikToks and like posts regarding that she now has 2 baby daddies, and then she's put out there before that she doesn't believe in marriage, and yeah, but then she's also put out there that she feels like a mess because her kids have a bunch of different fathers, and anyway, it's so messy. And once again, even though she's made for reality TV, if she truly valued getting her life together, she would choose to not go down the reality TV route, and she would enjoy the time with her kids, get her head on straight, and actually figure it out. But obviously that doesn't make good reality TV, and based on the things that have come to light of recent, that being on podcasts, people making TikToks about knowing her in high school, that she's always wanted to be famous, I guess she's getting what she wants, but maybe it will bite her in the butt and she'll regret it, but we'll see. The next bit, we see Miranda and Jen talking, mostly Jen spiraling because of how awful her marriage is, how all of her friendships are completely crumbling, everyone thinks she's a liar, and Miranda's just listening. And obviously Miranda has to kind of play her cards right, because she wants to be a good friend, I'm sure. It's hard, obviously, still breaking into this group, and I'm glad that she was there for Jen, but I would hope that, like I said, Jen would take the time and really not just put forth the blocks of trying to get her life together, but really making the strides and kind of maybe doing the apologies necessary and moving forward with maturity. But it's hard because it ain't me. So then next we get another gay dad talk scene where they're at Topgolf, which is a very interesting kind of plot line. I don't know if viewers necessarily asked for more like stuff with the the husbands, but it's really weird to watch, especially because they're all so mentally different and in different like stages in their lives. But yeah, I mean, maybe it will be better season 3 and we'll get some really juicy things, because there has been a lot in the Reddit news and gossip trains regarding Jordan and some scandals. So maybe that's what they're building at, and the producers know this, and that's why they are building the dad/husband side of things up, but we'll see. I was very impressed, however, that Zach did step up and defend his wife. I feel like that was something that was very much missing from season 1, and their relationship in general is that, I mean, the fact that he basically said, I don't want to be with a woman like this, and was threatening pretty much divorce, like, that is complete 360, 180, and that was very impressive, just saying that despite whatever Jen did or didn't say, that he needed to stand with her as her husband. And so I was very impressed with that overall, and naturally will help their relationship going forward, of course. So the next thing we see is Jesse, Demi, throw a sex party for Layla and becoming more familiar with sex toys and pleasure. And overall, it's very funny to me because since the very first time of meeting Layla and her saying season 1 that she's never had an orgasm I just think that's BS. I think that they needed a plot line for Miss Layla and a personality, like, trait for her. And so she was, because of her age, needed to be the innocent one. There's no way. But even if there was a way, the poor girl was thrown into, like, deer in the headlights when it came to this party. Because the part that made me laugh the most is that they had this hired sexpert, and this woman goes up to her and says, I am a doctor of this, I'm a doctor of that, and is like staring in Layla's eyes, and Layla's just like wide-eye, like nodding, like, okay, yep, okay. Like, very interesting interaction. But fast forward, now they're doing all their sex toys and whips and chains with one another and getting used to things. I don't know. It's a very interesting plot line for the show in general, because once again, if we throw it back to the fact that this is supposed to be about I guess that's the secret part of the Mormon wives, supposedly, but based on my experience with talking with Mormon wives on a daily, like, literally, I met a girl today at the park, a mom, and she lives in Provo, and I was talking to her about things, and yeah, I'll tell you, that's not a normal topic of conversation in general. Yeah, she's a stranger, but taking it from another relationship that I have also met at that park, we maybe have briefly talked about bedroom activities, but probably it was because we were talking about how tired we were day to day, and that if those activities happen, that it's because, I don't know, like, anyway, long story short, it's just not realistic. But yeah, it makes great television for you. But so, given the opportunity to rename this show, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives that are not focused necessarily on being Mormon or raising their children, but being promiscuous as possible because of being sexually neglected / sheltered in their adolescence, and now they need to act out to even that out. But they're married, and then a lot of them are probably going to get divorced or already divorced. But yeah, let's throw some whips and chains around. It'll be fun. But in an attempt to give the producers any sort of grace, hopefully it will allow some actual Mormon moms to step out of their comfort zone a little bit more, in the fact that none of them have seen 95% of the tools and toys that were shown on the episode or show. And maybe they'll be inspired and step out of their comfort zone. Once again, like I said, because it is not taught in Utah schools, it probably was a shock factor, and I'm sure a lot of their family that got to watch that was probably horrified, but at the same time, maybe it opened a good conversation, so who knows. Skipping to more the end of the episode where Macy is celebrating the fact that she has a book deal, and you see the most sourpuss face on Demi. I don't know, I feel like there must have had something else going on, because she had such sour face, and I don't know if it's just based on jealousy, because if that's the case, like, that's really too bad, because I feel like last season she was a lot more of a girl's girl, and I was more impressed with her. But yeah, she's just so kind of miserable to be around now, and I'm sure it's just because fame's gone to the head and the whole money contract negotiating. She wants more money, more fame. But I don't know, Macy's just a little sweetheart, and so I just feel like that's really unfortunate that she just had to be that way, because I feel like it definitely is a damper, and with the show, Macy has to watch that, and kind of her light gets dimmed a bit because of that as well. And then worse, of course, is the fact that they end the episode with another round of the truth box, and which Taylor reads the truth reveal that says Jen is fake. Which, fast forward next episode, or actually I think it's like the last episode of the season or something like that we find out and realize, or it's insinuated that Layla wrote that. Which, as we will continue with Miss Layla's plotline, everything about her is being produced or seems to be just very fake and not true to who she is. I just think that she's definitely a plant at this point, because I don't think in a million years she would actually write that. I think that a producer had her write that. But honestly, as it is read and Jen obviously starts tearing up immediately, poor girl at this point. Like, I know she has kind of dug herself a hole in some instances, but like, this poor girl just keeps getting kicked when she is down over and over again. And based on what social media tells us, like, they missed a lot of things and cut out a lot of content that we, the audience, have not seen. So I feel like there definitely was more to the story of Jen in general, that maybe there was more lies, maybe there was a spat even between, I don't know, if Layla truly felt that, I feel like there would have to be an argument between the two, because we definitely weren't seeing it, and that was just super unwarranted for her to even say that, which is just bizarre to me. So leading into the next episode, we see Miranda and Whitney discussing Whitney's baby shower. It's post having the baby, which is fine because of the logic that they were waiting on seeing the gender, and now that they know the gender and the baby's here, they can have the party now. And anyway, I think that it's, whether it's an act or not, that Whitney is being a lot more mature about it. I think it's really catty, but because they're talking about who they assume will not be there and be present for this baby shower. And I think it's super catty at this point. Like, yes, they all have different emotions regarding their fame and their success with the first season leading into the second, but I feel like if Whitney's inviting them, they should go. And I don't care if they hate one another, if they truly wanted to all be good friends and pals, but just because, like, when they are together, how is that just not so incredibly awkward, was my question. But anyway, so then the next thing we see, Taylor talks a bit with her family, and then we see Jesse doing Pilates, which, fun fact, I've actually did a Pilates class at the Mountain West Pilates place. I did one class there one time, and so that was kind of fun, and I live down the street, so been there, done that. And then next bit is Jen's talking with Zach. This is when Zach says just the best mic drop moment of, because he's like, well, what's the point? Like, and Jen's like, well, we empower women and we're fighting the patriarchy. And he's like, actually, it looks like you guys are fighting each other. And yeah, anyway, it was the best moment. I'll have to get the quote for it here. So, quote, he says, well, y'all just shit on each other. So, couldn't have said it more wonderfully myself, Sir Zach, so well done. Which is absolutely true, just bringing it back once again to that baby shower thing. Like, that's just insane to me, like, how they can say, nope, not going to be there tonight because I don't like you, but then be around the table at the next event. Like, that is just so awkward, but money talks, and they make, I'm sure, significant amount of money, so, doing the show. So next we see Jen and Jesse meet up, and they are hashing it out. And Jesse is leaving nothing off the table, and she is straight up calling Jen a liar about the whole Jen Affleck thing, which I understand. Like, I don't think Jen was trying to run with something that was not true. I think that's what she was told, and so she clung to it because she thought that was awesome, a great talking point. But yeah, I think Jessie can be just as messy as Taylor if she wants to be. She tends to be pretty smart a lot of the time, but I think she also wanted her viewership to go up a bit too. And so, because like that's the running similarity with the majority of the cast members. So everyone that was quiet last season is a lot more problematic this season. And then the people that were problematic last season, aka just Whitney, is a lot more polite and on best behavior because she got canceled pretty much. And so yeah, I'm very interested how it will play out for season 3, if people will keep these personas or they will change, especially Miss Demi, because she is being flamed. She's the new Whitney. Which brings us to our next most toxic relationship. Freaking Michaela and Whitney. I don't know what Michaela's problem is. She just hates Whitney's guts. And I get, like, you can passionately just not like a person, but she has a stalkerish obsession with hating Whitney and her every move and making her life revolve around hating Whitney. And that is just so bizarre to me. But anyway, so they agreed to meet up, and it was funny because they were going to try to do like almost like a 3-way call situation trap with Macy listening to the conversation on her phone, but then Michaela screwed it up and she was supposed to mute or not mute herself, and then have Macy mute herself or whatever on her end. But anyway, she screwed it up, so Macy couldn't even hear anything, so that was funny. But yeah, she just can't leave it alone. And the funny thing is that I wish that they would just agree to disagree. Like, I'm sure Whitney and her new actress point of stance that she's doing, she would still want to try to be friends and cordial and try to fix things with Michaela. But Michaela should just agree to disagree and leave it alone. But she's just borderline obsessed, and it's really uncomfortable. Like, it was funny the first, 2 times, but it just feels a little immature and just grow up. And once again, very, very, very high school drama. So next we see Taylor and Dakota talking about how broken their relationship is and how it is just so hard for the two of them, and whether or not they ever get back together, it's exhausting at this point, and I don't think it's doing either of them a favor. I think they both need to take a long, long walk and go to therapy. And I know there's a part in this episode, or maybe it was one before, where Dakota attends therapy with Taylor and she makes a note of that. That's great, but I think the biggest evil at play here is just that Dakota has desired to be a reality television star his entire life. So I think having him not be a part of the show would be the healthiest thing for their relationship, but that's not the case. And so I think as long as he is determined to be a main character celebrity, I think that's going to be the problem. And Taylor, if you're listening, all I would say is be weary, because the fact that is such a hard and fast motivation for him, once he makes it to Hollywood is a deep dark hole of drugs and sex, and I don't know. I just don't think that he would stick around. So I'd be concerned. And at this point, I feel like the best thing forever is to have 2 parents that love him. And I don't think that's ever going to happen if the 2 parents are fighting constantly in front of him. And it hurts my heart every single time there was a scene and people are screaming and Ever's just there. Like, babies can feel that and absorb that. And so it hurts my heart, and I hope things change in the future. For the better, of course. So next we see bunnies at Miss Whitney's baby shower, and I think it's cute overall. I think it was a good little middle ground, and of course people didn't show up as predicted, and I think that's pretty bad, especially with the fact that they're kind of making a mockery of it, because the next scene we see they're having a dinner party with all the people, so Layla, Demi, Jesse, and Michaela, and Jen, maybe? Yeah, Jen. And I think that's just horrendous. They should be at the baby shower and support. But, yeah, I don't think any of them are truly friends at this point, especially with the changes from season 1 to season 2. And I'm curious if the show will make it. And it used to be a joke of, will MomTok survive this? But will the show survive this? So the next thing we get to see, of course, is another girl trip, which, of course, we all know will end so well, because they usually end with truth boxes, and, of course, here comes a truth box. Which, this truth box reveals, by Layla reading the card, that there was an anonymous tip that Brett cheated on Demi when she was gone. And so she kind of brushes it off and side eyes and like, yeah, good luck with that one. Because of course, if it's an anonymous, anyone can insert or put that. So that kind of makes me laugh. But we'll get into that in a bit. So of course, there's more truth box stuff, but it's pretty surface level. So I'm just going to skip it. So then fast forward, we get a black screen notification just saying that out of respect for Jen's mental health, they're stopped filming with her, which I think is one of the best moves. And quite honestly, every single one of the girls need a black screen. Maybe we should stop filming these tragedies, because it's a hard watch. But I mean, yeah, we'll consume it when it's given to us. But I feel bad because any number of us can turn off the TV and move on with our lives, which hopefully for the majority of the population is a happy, chosen life. But for these women, like, I don't know, maybe they all truly are happy and it's all games for the show, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but it's all just super messy too. Like, I just couldn't be so rude to one of the other women like that, and camera's off and be like, oh, hi, bestie. Like, oh my gosh, it'd be so hard. So then at one of the next dinners, Demi starts spiraling and is getting super emotional, and we just really start to see how all these women, they're all spiraling because of all these relationships have changed aggressively because of fame and money, and it just gets complicated at every turn, and that's all we're gonna see, I think, going forward forever and always at this point. It's just gonna get more complicated. So then they come back to the Airbnb, and they're shouting, MomTok, with these floating cutout pictures of their heads, which is funny when they did that, and they're screaming and shouting MomTok. I thought that was hilarious. But in general, they are shouting about MomTok, and none of them are being moms ever. We never see the kids, which I'm not saying that we should, because I agree not to show the kids, but what part of the show is talking about being a mom? Because it's not. And I think that's why the show is like spiraling as well, because it's not Mormonism. It's not moms, it's just high school drama. Everyone hates each other secretly. And then we're really trying to get clicks for views or something, because now we're gonna go skinny dipping. And then Demi apparently is usually taking her clothes off very willingly, and so then everyone's like, oh, to me, you're gonna lead the skinny dipping, and she's like, oh, okay, and then she calls her husband, and basically her husband, Brett, is like, heck no, and so then she's like, oh, just kidding, and so then, once again, our shy and very unknowledgeable sex girl Layla is leading the charge and saying, no, you better be skinny dipping, because in reality, who would be the least likely to want to take her clothes off? Probably her, if that's truly with how timid that she is typically going to be. But anyway, so she's leading the charge, and then Miranda's leading the charge, which, pop off Miranda, like, she's got a slam and bod, so I support that, and then Jesse's always down for anything, so she's there too. And so now it's skinny dipping because we need views for the show, of course, because they are Girls Gone Wild, of course. And yeah, the show's just crazy. But then someone made the comment, of course, they're like, oh, of course, all these women have boob jobs. Which, that's mom talk to me, because as a mom breastfeeding, your boobs get very sad and saggy. And so all these women have perfect little perky boobs that don't even need a bra to hold them up. And so yeah, I'm sure it's easier to want to do that when all their boobs are perfect. And they're just chilling in the pool like little bobbing, floating silicone sacks. So yeah, they're having a good time. So then next they are now turning the show into the Great British Bake Off, but Mormon version and Thanksgiving version. And this show is just spiraling at this point, because now we're like, oh, we are so Mormon, we are so back, and Mormon's like sourdough. So now we have two moms battling it out, saying, oh, my sourdough is going to be the best for this Thanksgiving bake-off thing that the husbands are going to judge and choose whose is the best. And then you have everyone else showing up with random concoctions too, and just kind of super bizarre plot lines, but whatever, they got to do something. But before we get to that, we see Demi with Brett at a baking store, and Demi pretty much accuses nicely, brings up the concept that there was this anonymous tip that he cheated. And to be honest, it looks pretty sus. However, it also looks very orchestrated as well. Because based on the way that Brett is reacting, if there truly wasn't any producer involvement saying, hey, you should act dramatic about this, then yeah, he looks pretty guilty. But if a producer happened to say, hey, we need this to be messy, and he could put on a good show and get a kind of check for that, then yeah, I'm sure he could put on the, reacting and looking guilty. And then, of course, the fact that they put a black screen up and say, oh, the cameras were cut, but the audio kept going, and you hear Demi and Brett still talking, and anyway, he's very on his guard with that's crap, don't listen to it, da, 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 da. It does look very guilty, but at the same time, I feel like it could be very fake and orchestrated as well. So then we see the intro of all the girls making their dishes for Thanksgiving, and once again, not reality from MomTok. The MomTok that I watched before the show was even in existence, because not once did I ever see any of the moms in their TikToks making anything regarding sourdough or anything. So, once again, now turning these sex toy and whips and change girls into Little House on the Prairie. It's just giving me whiplash at this point. So moving forward, we start the next episode, and we see everyone reacting to that Taylor had posted on her Instagram story when she was invited to present at the CMA Awards, and no one replied on that to congratulate her. I remember this happening real time, and it felt so fake. that she's like, no one's supporting me, blah, 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 blah. Knowing how girls usually react to one each other, it's so easy to just heart an Instagram post, and I'm sure they all would have done it in a heartbeat. So it either was an organized effort with the girls and they truly hated Taylor at that point in time for something, or they needed hype for the show. My guess is the latter, and then Taylor, I don't know, that or Taylor just hadn't received attention in some amount of time and she needed to fire off and she was stressed about something, and so she decided to make it messy for some reason. That wouldn't surprise me as well because that's very typical of her. But overall, we see this filming of, oh, we're going to talk about it for how this wasn't true, and then they pull up receipts, of course, saying that they had all texted in a group chat saying, wow, this is so cool, Taylor, like, good on you, but that they hadn't posted online. And let's say that it was true and that it was messy and just no one happened to support her. Like, I believe they were saying that it was around Thanksgiving, and so it's just like, and things were busy. But with that being said, in the fact that that's the greatest honor that any of them could have received, I guess, to host the CMAs and no one else was invited, yeah, they knew it was going on. There's no way that they didn't know that it was going on. So I think it was a plot line. I feel like that being transparent, that was a little too obvious, but maybe I'm wrong. So then next thing we see is Demi is being super messy and that she is just commenting left and right and in group chats and saying very rude things. And as well that Demi is being super mean girl. And so now overall Demi is just getting a horrid edit, and every turn she is becoming more psycho. There's a part where Layla is talking about how she was texting her about a brand deal and that she's asking about how much money Layla was making, and Layla makes the comment, we've just learned at this point, if it's about money, we don't talk about it with her, Demi, because she just can't handle it. It's too emotional. I don't know. Anyway, so it is just getting pretty bad for Demi, and the really sad part is, intertwined with this episode, is you have all this really cutesy stuff with Macy and IVF and her journey, and truly, I feel like Demi is just such a poison to this whole plot line. Like, if they could have made such a cute show about MomTok and still had some, like, drama points, a lot of drama points in it, but the way that it's just, like, all the girls hate one another, like, the cutest part really is just Macy at this point, and then Miranda trying to put things in the correct direction, and she's being supportive of these Whitney and Jed, and, like, girls being down. Like, they could have had such a good show, and yeah, they're leaning into the drama, but they just truly hate one another at this point. And I believe with that woman I was talking about earlier, the older woman that watches all the it's not Secret Lives, I keep saying that, Reality Housewives, or yeah, and I feel it. It's just getting more painful to watch, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're stubborn, you're just gonna keep watching it. So here we are. So then we see that Macy is in fact pregnant, which, incredibly happy for her. She is a sweetheart and she deserves it. And it's really sad that it has to be intertwined with all this just crap. But anyway, so then the next party that we see is the Saints and Sinners party, which is so funny because me being local to the area, I actually had access to, if I wanted to buy tickets to it, I could have gone. But yeah, not totally my cup of tea. So I didn't attempt to, and I didn't want to pay for it. You had to pay to go to that party, which was kind of weird. But anyway, well, I mean, not really. And yeah. Anywho, but it was funny because I have been to a wedding at the same venue that they've been at, and it was funny because my husband and I were watching this part of the show, and I was like, wait, we've literally been back there, because at this specific venue, there's like the couch where all the girls are sitting, and kind of this back area, and it's funny because area that they were in is actually super small. And I was like, all I could think is like, wow, that they really put them back there and how crammed that they must be. But on this show, it probably didn't look super crammed, but I know for a fact that it is. And so, anyway, I'm sure it was just really funny to be filming especially with all the film crew and stuff shoved back in this like back room of this facility. Anyway, kind of funny. Fun fact for you. But anyway, on these tiny couches is the grand finale scream out battle of Demi and Taylor, which Taylor takes it in her stride. She turns on her psycho switch and she starts speed talking and screaming while Demi is trying to just word vomit her way through, I guess, the BS of it all. And it's crazy to me that Taylor has all this energy to fight, and I get it's probably kind of a trauma response, but then Taylor turns it on Demi and throws her under the bus in the fact of regards to Jessie and her ability to do hair, which I thought was pretty sad because at this point we know that Demi and Jessie have quite a friendship, and that's pretty depressing. And Demi tries to word vomit her way out of it, but in reality, we just know it's probably true, and that's a lot of gossip behind each other's backs. And anyway, it's pretty sad to watch, to be honest, but once again, more high school petty drama, and it just makes me laugh that they all have to sit on these tiny little couches and have to wear their huge wings, angels and devils wings, and yeah, anyway, hard watch. But actually, real quick, my favorite thing that Demi does, she deflects everything. Like, she'll be like, Taylor and Dakota are so toxic. And we're like, okay, and you're not? And even post listening to, I think, Demi and Brett on Nick Vial's podcast, the entire time they're just saying, like, no, we're really, like, down to earth. We're in it. Like, Demi claims that she's in it to support her family, and Brett's like, she doesn't even like fame. Like, she thinks whenever she runs into people that want to take pictures with her, she says, I'm just a girl, like, blah, 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 blah. It's not about me. So fake. So moving on, next episode, they are saying they're going to another girls' trip in New Orleans. And yeah, of course, we need to just go to another state for the same drama. But anyway, then we see that Jessie has all these events planned, and it makes me laugh because Jessie truly is like the only one that can ever plan trips, I guess, for these girls. But I don't know, I guess that's her calling card. And so then we see that they go to a burlesque show, which is tits out and everything is not very covered. And anyway, so then the highlight being that Layla, one of the performers, she pulls a joint from the under nether regions, and I guess Layla must have forgot where it came out of because the performer lit it up and put it in her mouth, smoked a bit, and then she walked around to the audience, and Layla took a whiff, I don't know, I don't smoke, so a puff, right? That's probably what it is. And anyway, so she then, in her talking confession head, whatever, she was just like, oh, I forgot where it came from. Anyway, so nasty. But it was funny because then later, I think that week on my TikTok came up the like stripper / performer's TikTok, and she like in her bio says it was me, the joint cooch or something like that. Anyway, so funny that I happened to see that later. I was just like, oh, okay, one of those TikTok read my mind things, because I never once searched that, but here we are. It was listening to my phone the whole time. But anyway, so once again, Mormon mom talk. We have Layla smoking weed. So, Mormons that so casually do that. The answer is no, they do not do that. But here we are. So then we get a view of Taylor and her family working on a puzzle. So cute. But then Taylor's mom just keeps talking to her, obviously, about her struggles, and she's like, "Did you pray? Do you think to pray?" And that is one of the instances in this show where it's such a pushed narrative and it feels so awkward because it's just like they don't rule by religion 95% of the time. So then when they show like and they throw in those little sound bites like, "Oh, did you pray?" And Taylor's like, "Yeah, I am a lot." And I'm like, I mean, whether that's true or not, maybe it is great. But when you're sitting there not necessarily cussing out other girls, like, it doesn't make sense in the same breath. So, I don't know. Sinner and a saint, I guess, but I did see recently that she's a Gemini, so she's got the two twin spirit. So maybe one of them is a saint. But we are back at the girls' trip, and we see Layla enter the room with a bunch of pregnancy tests, which of course we know as viewers that Macy is pregnant, and so, but she is waiting for the correct time to tell the rest of the group that she is pregnant. And so, obviously, and I heard, this is not my original thought, everyone I feel like feels like this, but that Layla was a producer plant. There's no way that she went out and bought a bunch of pregnancy tests because she was concerned that she was late on her period and that she might be pregnant. Total producer plant from a mile away. And I think it's really sad if they truly forced Macy to reveal that she was pregnant and that she didn't have that choice. Like, that's horrendous. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like that's something that she kind of has to borderline consent to. Like, I guess telling? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a part of it, so I wouldn't know. But the other thing that I was seeing people react to was that when they took these tests, if she truly didn't want people to know she was pregnant, why didn't she just dip the test in sink water? Or even toilet water? It doesn't even matter what kind of water. Don't pee on it. And no one would have been the wiser. Which leads us to the fact that it probably was a producer plot line, and behind closed doors they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this. Kind of act like you didn't want to do it. Okay, action." And that's just how I envision it playing out. It was surprising, however, to find out that Michaela was the other girl pregnant, and I think it's very cute based on their friendship that they are pregnant together, very close together. I love that, and obviously the fact that Miss Macy's baby is an IVF baby, love that for her and the success for that. But of course, while they are playing pregnancy roulette, Demi has made it beyond abundantly clear, because the world revolves around her and her emotions, that this is going to be heartbreaking for her no matter what, because they have pulled not one but two positive pregnancy tests, and because she has been trying so hard with Brett despite her having children with her original first husband. She wants to have a child with him, and that they are trying super hard for that, and that she is emotionally traumatized, which I do feel for her if that's something that she truly wants. But I believe the issue for me is just that these people, it seems like their problems are very small when they are all just chasing fame and fortune. So for me, I would never make good television because I think a little too realistically. And I mean, I don't know, maybe I'd be a good actress and fake it till you make it, but I value privacy and other things. And so yeah, it's hard. And once again, I think it's just wanting to have more screen time, because the absolute drama and dramatics of her crying and throwing her body around during this time of being so sad. It's not like she doesn't take pregnancy tests all the time. Like, and she says that even, but of course she says it in the way of, "Oh, I do this all the time. I'm so emotionally exhausted," pretty much. And, okay, so the stupid pregnancy roulette, just roll your eyes and move on with it. Like, don't be so emotionally invested then. Like, I get that's hard, and y'all are obviously trying to figure out the correct steps in order to have success with the whole baby making thing. Just focus your energy where it needs to be focused and don't be overly invested. That's the solution. And continuing the triple, quadruple whammy of Demi being so dramatic, towards the end of the episode, they're at a dinner, and she basically says if Taylor is going to continue being a part of MomTok, she's going to leave MomTok, which, of course, is so dramatic, but I think it's just all clickbait and desire for screen time. So, yeah, I don't know if that has any bit of, like, actual believability, and who knows, maybe she won't be part of next season, and if that was the case, I wouldn't be mad, because it's just been so whiny and mean girl. I wish they would actually have some interesting points for this show, or something to learn, I guess. I don't know, something new. It's just so whiny. But thank goodness we are now on the last episode of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And it opens with Layla visiting Taylor and sharing some insider information of text group chats, along with discussing about Demi's holiday party coming up, and that Taylor wasn't supposed to be invited, but then she was invited accidentally. But then next we see the holiday Christmas party that Demi is throwing, and that Taylor's mom shows up, Leanne, to crash, which, of course, Leanne is so funny in her own instance, in the fact that she got a new face that looks exactly like Taylor, and she is a wannabe celebrity herself. And so her getting more screen time, I'm sure she had absolutely no issue with entering and interrupting this holiday party that she wasn't even invited to, but she comes bearing gifts. A gift from Taylor, which we then find later when Demi opens it on camera that it is a PR package from Jay-Z Hairstyles, which is hilarious in itself because of the whole concept that Demi was bashing Jesse's business. And so it's even funnier because Jesse's literally right there as she opens it. And yeah, I mean, Jesse had no idea. And it was funny because, of course, Taylor gets billions and billions of PR and is definitely on their list. And so the fact that she just kind of forwarded it to Demi, I thought it was funny. I was actually on Taylor's side there. And I think it was weird that Leanne hand delivered it and then, of course, sat on the couch and basically was catfighting with Demi and fighting her daughter's battles while also creating her own drama. Like, she didn't need to do any of that. Super weird. Like, I feel like when we first met Taylor's mom, we basically saw that she was going to bat for her daughter, but now I feel like she just wants to be involved as much as possible because it contributes to screen time, it contributes to her narrative that she's not just the girl's mom, she is Leanne. And so I don't know, like, I don't think there's a space for her, like, a necessary space for her in this show, so every time she's, like, involved, I kind of roll my eyes, I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of weird, but I guess she's here. And so that was a very interesting interaction, and then even weirder is that Whitney shows up, and she's like, oh, well, I'm gonna sit next to Demi and be on Demi's side because Leanne is, like, ripping into Demi, but oh well, Demi is trying to reflect the entire time, and it's just a very weird scenario for a holiday party that Leanne was not invited to, but brings a gift for something that was not even required as a gift, and yeah, just weird. But the funniest thing I will say is that I cannot take Demi seriously throughout this entire thing because she is wearing this big, bright, fuzzy robe, which I would imagine is either from Minky Couture or Lola Blankets or Cozy Earth because it has to be one of the three, because that's the three blanket cozy companies in Utah, which if any of you guys want to sponsor me, feel free. Right now, I am cozied up in my blanket from almost probably 10 years ago. No, it was probably like 7 years ago when I worked at Nordstrom Rack. And so, funny enough, this blanket is one of the Kardashians' favorites. It's the Barefoot Dreams blanket back in its heyday. But yeah, as I say, claim your spot on the pod. This podcast has no sponsored blankets yet. Ooh. But anyway, yeah, super entertaining to watch to me. And it was funny because the first watch, I didn't realize it was a robe, but then all the TikToks that were made about that moment was pointing out like the tie, like the robe tie, and that was hilarious to me because it was putting off the like aura of a fancy mob wife look, but then like the robe tie ruined it. So that part made me laugh really, really hard. So anyway, but her dress was really, really pretty. I will say when she takes it off, I wish she just wore that dress up like without the whole robe thing, but I don't know. So then fast forward to the end of the party. So the next part was they talk about Macy and some family stuff, which of course, like I'll always be a fan. Her plotline is appreciative and it's a very positive thing in very toxic waters. But then going forward, then they are talking about Jesse's thyroid issues, I guess, and as well as then Jesse brings up the whole purpose of MomTok now, because they don't even make videos anymore. And that's exactly my point. This is a group of toxic half friends that we follow around at different dinner parties and watch them be fake. So that's basically the premise of MomTok now. So then they continue this discussion and get super catfighty, and basically I'll say that they're all horrible to one another, and that's pretty much the extent of it. But then our hearts are absolutely broken hearing Macy's tragic story with her first husband and how he died in a car accident, and overall very heartbreaking, and I want to cry. It made me so emotional watching it. And I just want to give her a big old hug. I would love to. But at the same time, I would also want to help aid her in being able to move forward and be happy. So, the next part, though, was the Marciano situation that Layla, I guess, was sent to talk to him, which is so funny. And the fact, given that his reputation is making moves on attractive women, and they sent Layla, great choice. That was the funniest part of all, especially with the fact that Layla is also not the one that is, like, stands on business. Like, why did they send the timid little girl? She's literally the youngest one to talk about it. I don't know. Anyway, I found that part really kind of backwards, and then now is the big drama point of, did Marciano have this rampant affair with Jesse or not? And who's lying? Because Jesse said no, that it didn't happen, but Marciano said yes, it sure did. And that is the lovely little cliffhanger that we leave off for season 2. I have literally talked about this for like 2.5 hours, and I am slightly going insane, but that's okay. Was it worth it? Maybe. Who knows? But I hope you enjoyed me yapping about it. I think for my last bottom points here, I think that the girls themselves summed it up pretty well. What is the point of MomTok when they are no longer even remotely doing MomTok things? Like, they never were doing anything mom related. They were putting on their black Lululemon leggings and black Align tanks and dancing and making to popular sounds and dances on TikTok. And that's when they were the most alluring. That was when they were hot and sexy, and we all looked at each other and said, how are these moms so hot and sexy? one, where are their children? How do they have time to do this? How are they not exhausted? But yeah, the glass ceiling has shattered because that's not the truth. In fact, they all have horrible relationship problems for the most part. Not all of them, but the majority. And they all hate one another. So that's also has been revealed. And yeah, they all just want fame and money at this point. So I don't know. I'm sure if they film things and produce them, it will be watched. I'll watch it because I don't know. It's always good background noise. But, and I think it's just because I live in Utah. I think that's also part of it, is that, I don't know, I'm curious if I probably wouldn't watch it, maybe I would if I didn't live in Utah, but it's funny just seeing the local sites, and so I think it's twice as entertaining for me in a way. But yeah, I'm very intrigued how they go from here, because at this point I feel like the majority of talking points on this show is just straight up lies. And I think that's probably why I keep referencing that woman. I don't even know what her name is on TikTok that I saw. It was an older woman, but she seemed well versed in reality show TV, and that's why she was just like saying this show is kind of horrendous. But yeah, I'd have to agree. This show's just built on lies after lies. Like, at least with the Kardashians, they never had to make up lies. Like, they had intriguing real life things going on, and like business ordeals, and making things happen that mattered. And literally, what are these women doing? Nothing. They're just arguing with each other. Anyway, I hope there is some crazy season 3 arc, because enough of the fake shock factors, enough of the fake fights, like, we see through it. But that is the end of today's episode, because your girl is exhausted talking about this. But I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully it allowed you to process this interesting concept of a show. And will MomTok survive this? We'll have to see. Will this mom survive this? Not with the show, but maybe if she gets 8 hours of sleep. All right, friends, that is all. Have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time it is for you. If you could give it a 5-star, I would appreciate it so much. It would help out a ton. If you'd like to visit the Instagram, hit me with a follow, like a post, hit me with a DM. I would love to do an advice session. However, I need some submissions to be able to do that. So we are in the early stages still, but I would love to hear from you. If you have any random fun stories you'd like to share as well, still would love to hear them as well. So besides that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.